Welcome, Impactful Parents. It's time for the Impactful Parenting Podcast, where I give you parenting tips and resources to make you a more impactful parent to your school-age child. I am your host, Kristina Campos. Welcome, Impactful Parents. Today we're going to talk about getting your daughter started with skincare and makeup. Hello, my name is Kristina Campos, and I'm founder of The Impactful Parent, and I help parents of school-age children who want to be one step ahead of their kids to turn their chaos into connection with their adolescents. I'm a mom of four, a teacher that's taught every grade from preschool through high school, and today I help moms and dads like yourself navigate that exhausting, confusing, frustrating, but rewarding world of parenting. So welcome to The Impactful Parent, and today I have a special guest. Her name is Dr. Angela Casey. And Angela is a board-certified dermatologist and a mom of three who created Bright Girl, which is a healthy skincare line made especially for young girls and teens. And after years of seeing preventable skin issues in her practice, she set out to make skincare simple, safe, and confidence-building for our young ladies out there. And I'm happy to have Angela on the Impactful Parent stage today to talk about best practices to get your daughter started on a good skincare and makeup routine that's actually healthy. So welcome to the stage and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Kristina. I'm thrilled to connect with your audience.
I'd like to start off with, what age do you generally recommend mothers introduce their daughters to a basic consistent skincare routine? And what are the key emotional and physical signs that a girl is actually ready to start that?
So it's interesting because when you think about it, skincare starts for our children from the moment they're born, right? As babies, we're bathing and moisturizing them. And when they're toddlers, we're helping them put on their sunscreen, et cetera. And then we tend to kind of drop the ball a little bit as they go through their childhood years. But it's really when they get to around age 8 or 9 that a lot of our kids start to express that interest in wanting to have some ownership, wanting to have a say in their product selection. So they might come to you and start asking you about products. They might be hearing about it from friends. They might be seeing it on social media, on commercials and on YouTube shows that they're watching. Even at that young age, they're being exposed to it. It's around them. So it's important as parents that we are open to that and having that conversation. And when they start to ask about it, that we really kind of direct that conversation to why do they want those particular products and what is prompting this discussion? And then it's our job as parents, of course, to guide them in the right direction with proper ingredient selection and the selection of products that's good for their skin, but still is going to engage them and really get them excited about those healthy routines.
For a clean and healthy beginner routine, and let's say we're talking about girls ages 8 through 12, what is the absolute simplest, non-negotiable routine that you actually recommend?
I really want them to focus on putting on sunscreen every day, every morning. And if that is all they do, that's really all they need, because the sunscreen is going to contain some moisturizing agents. It's going to hydrate their skin. They do not need to wash their skin in the morning because they've probably showered or bathed the night before. So it's redundant to wash your face again in the morning. So sunscreen, and ideally a mineral-based sunscreen. So you're looking for that active ingredient of zinc oxide or titanium dioxide as the active sunscreen ingredient. And that's really all they need in the morning. But you think about our kids at that age, they're out at recess, they might be playing sports, they're out with friends. So you really want to get that protection on board first thing and just make it part of their routine in the morning, just like brushing their teeth. For the evening, I really recommend going with a gentle pH balanced cleanser for their face and the rest of their skin, because they've probably been out again playing sports, sweat, dirt, pollutants, all the things. And you want to cleanse that skin before they go to bed so that it's really reset and refreshed. And then a good moisturizing agent. So all you need is a basic moisturizer that's going to give some hydration to the skin. So a good body lotion and a good facial lotion. And that's all they need. They do not need any serums or any of the facial mists or any of those things. I wouldn't say you necessarily need to eliminate them, but you do have to be careful if they're asking for those things that you are choosing age-appropriate ingredients.
Now, many girls give up on a routine if they don't see instant results. And especially our young people who don't like to wait around, but there's many adults who don't like to wait either. But this is a common problem, right? We don't see something happening to our skin right away where there's a change or feel something, then we just like throw it out and say, this isn't working. So how can moms manage expectations and teach their daughters that consistency is actually more important than quick fixes?
Oh, for sure. They are definitely the generation of instant gratification because they have everything in the world at their fingertips and they're used to getting those quick results of what they want. So it's important for us as parents to manage those expectations. So set the stage. And when you explain to them that it takes the skin a full month to actually cycle over, and even in a full month, they're not going to see full results. In the dermatology world, we always set expectations for our patients that it's going to be at least 3 months of consistent use of a product before they are going to see that change. We never want to change up a routine too much in that 3-month period because then we've kind of lost the opportunity to see whether or not it worked. And I think, it's just like anything else in life. If you go in and you have that clear conversation, you're very transparent about it. This is the amount of time we need to give it, and it's not going to happen in 2 weeks or 4 weeks. They might be more likely to understand. And when they get to that 6-week mark and maybe they're not at goal, just kind of bringing them back to remember, we've got to give it 3 months of, and you said it so well. Consistency is key. If they're using products a couple times a week or they're using it here and there, it's not going to be nearly as effective as consistent use as recommended by a dermatology specialist.
It's so hard to wait, though. I have to empathize with that. 3 months is a long time. I feel like 1 month, for me personally, 1 month is about my waiting cap. So it's so hard, but I hear you. I hear what you're saying, and I know that's important. So I'm glad we're talking about it.
Well, we have to model it too as parents, right? We have to show them, oh, yes, I've been using this product for X number of months, and that's, why my skin is clearing up. So what we do, and you say that so often in your podcast, is just how we act and how we approach things really sets an example for them. And even if we're not clearly saying it to them, they are watching what we're doing as well.
Absolutely, they are. Now, when those first breakouts appear, the instinct is often to reach for harsh treatments because we need to get rid of that quickly. Again, going back to we don't like to wait. So what is the dermatological approach for tackling mild to moderate teen acne? I don't want to talk about severe cases. We're talking about maybe like the general population while keeping the routine clean and gentle on the skin barrier. What should we do?
It's a really good question. I think we've come a long way in the dermatology space from what you and I grew up with, Kristina, and probably a lot of the parents that are listening, where it was that mentality of harsher is better. So if we can really dry our skin and strip our skin and get rid of all the oil and wash it, and we used abrasive cleansers to scrub and exfoliate. And the pendulum has swung all the way the other way in the opposite direction. And we now know as dermatologists the importance of a good skincare regimen in terms of treating acne. So pH balanced cleanser, adequate moisturization, sunscreen. So going back to those basics that we talked about with the basic regimen, there is actually tremendous research now demonstrating the importance of that simple regimen in terms of managing acne. Why? Because you're strengthening the skin barrier. And when the skin barrier is strong, it's less prone to irritation, inflammation, and skin sensitivity. Secondly, when you're sticking with that good, consistent regimen, you're going to help balance the skin microbiome. So our skin microbiome, much like our gut microbiome, has trillions of bacteria and fungi and yeast and all these organisms that live on our skin happily and normally. And those organisms are really important for keeping bad bacteria in check. And one of those bad bacteria is a bacteria called C. acnes. It's the acne-causing bacteria. And if you strip your skin too much, or if your skin is too dehydrated, if you're scrubbing it all the time, you're wiping away all that good bacteria that keeps the bad bacteria in check, and that's going to drive acne production. So first and foremost is a good skincare regimen. If that's not quite doing the trick and they're still getting some acne breakout despite that, that's when we start to bring in some additional tools. I really love to use a toner. So for example, our Bright Girl toner has witch hazel in it. That's a really well-established ingredient for helping to balance oil production in the skin. And it's really nice kind of non-aggressive treatment to treat that early stage acne. Then when that is still not quite enough, that's when we start to bring in topical retinoids. And there are some that are over the counter, like Differin and Effaclar, which help unplug the pores and help with skin cell type turnover, as well as topical antibiotics, so like a benzoyl peroxide, also over the counter. And usually that's going to control the large majority of acne cases, at least get it under better control so things aren't quite as flared. And when the acne is still persisting despite those measures, that's when it's time to go see a specialist. And it's important. We can also talk about a little bit more about diet and lifestyle factors now or later in the podcast, but that's an important factor as we look at managing acne.
Let's go ahead and jump into that right now. I wanted to add to this because I do know that that's important for our listeners, managing acne. So beyond what we're applying on our face, what are your recommendations for what we're putting inside of our body?
Mm-hmm. So diet, we get asked about this all the time. How much does diet impact acne? And it's actually quite significant. So high glycemic index foods cause inflammation throughout our bodies, including inflammation in our skin. And that's one of the factors that drives acne. So when our kiddos are eating things like bagels and pretzels, candy, soda, anything that's going to spike their blood sugar is not going to be good for their acne. For some of our kiddos, they're going to be very dairy sensitive. I don't like to put dairy as a no-no for everyone because some people tolerate it fine. And you probably know if you're dairy sensitive or not. So how do you feel after you eat dairy? Do you feel like bloated and sluggish and you notice like everything's kind of kicked up? Or are you somebody that can take in dairy and you do fine? So dairy in some individuals can be very triggering for acne. We also know that low-fat dairy is one of the worst things we can do. So like skim milk, non-fat yogurt, those products have a much higher glycemic index than a full-fat milk or like a full-fat yogurt. Cheese is usually not as much of a trigger. And the reason is the fat helps slow that sugar spike in the body. So it's slowing down that drive for inflammation. And then in terms of like fried foods, there's a lot of myths that exist that like fried greasy foods cause acne. It's not so much that as it is the fact that those foods also spike blood sugar levels and thereby spike inflammation in the skin. But we do know that individuals that work around like deep fryers, so if you have kiddos that are working in like fast food or a restaurant or somewhere where there's grease, that there is that effect of that actually plugging the skin, and that can drive acne as well. But not so much the fried foods in and of themselves. You have to kind of look at it in context of how that's affecting their blood sugar levels.
I'm learning so much. I love this because I did have that myth in my brain that the fried foods were going to cause that, but it makes sense what you're saying. And I had no idea about the whole lactose, that the lower the fat content of the milk is actually going to be counterproductive to trying to keeping your skin clear. Like it makes sense, but I had no idea. I just love learning all this. And I hope the audience is listening and nodding their head with me. Now, as a double board certified dermatologist, how do you define clean, and I put that in air quotations if you're listening to this, clean skincare? How do you define that? Mm-hmm. And what are the top 2 or maybe 3 categories that mothers should be most vigilant about avoiding in products marketed specifically to our young people, our tweens and teens. So, for example, I'm trying to get you to say, there are certain fragrances, there's a certain parabens. What are we looking for?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So as you probably know, and many of your listeners might know, there's no standard definition for clean. So there's no FDA regulation or other regulatory body that defines what constitutes a product as clean. So I really I use it in reference to Bright Girl because I think it's a descriptor that the audience, the general public at large understands. But in terms of having like clear-cut guidelines, there's nothing that really defines that. You can go through different certifying bodies to determine, like, for example, Clean at Sephora is a little bit different than Whole Foods regulations, which is a little different than what's required through a program called Novi, which Macy's uses. We're at Macy's and we do meet the Novi criteria for clean.
I'm going to stop you for a second there because I'd like to know, is there a word that we're looking for on labels then?
Right. It's really tricky. And the truth is there's no good answer for that because organic does not mean that it's not going to cause sensitivity in your skin. Natural is often not better because there are many natural ingredients, including essential oils and like many fruit extracts that are actually extremely irritating to skin in many individuals, not everyone, but it's one of the number one causes of contact allergies. So I think you have to kind of come back to what are your values as a parent? Do you want to avoid things like parabens, sulfates, phthalates, which parabens, that's a preservative. It got a bad name many years ago because there was a link that was thought to be between parabens and breast cancer. They have subsequently disproven that. But basically, they were finding parabens in the tissue of individuals who had breast cancer. And then they linked it to deodorant use. And then subsequent studies, again, they disproved that there is any link or any connection. So if you ask any dermatologist, we're going to say parabens are not bad. With that being said, did we put parabens in Bright Girl products? No, we left it out because I know there are plenty of parents out there that would just rather avoid that. Same thing with phthalates are a little bit more proven, and there can be some questionable hormone disruption with those. So we like to look for products that are phthalate free. Sulfates, that is like one of the products or ingredients that makes a cleanser like really foamy, or we might find it in any sort of personal care product. And those can be very harsh and irritating to the skin. So we try to avoid those as well. If as a parent, organic is really important to you, then look for products that are organic. But otherwise, I think really like knowing a brand and what they stand for, who created it, what certifications they have in terms of those regulations, which is probably not the answer. I want to give you like an easy, straightforward answer, but the truth is that there isn't one because there's not one standard criteria that we're working against. I will say, though, if your child has sensitive skin, you want to avoid synthetic fragrances. That's a very common contact allergen. And then there are a lot of other ones, like certain ingredients that are in, just talking about cosmetics, and nail polish is a really common contact allergen, and some of the ingredients in that, and in certain dyes and products can be very irritating. So looking for something that's dye free, and then just the other criteria, again, depending on your personal preferences.
Well, we're seeing more teens obsess over anti-aging ingredients like retinols, retinoids, and harsh exfoliants, which are all popularized on social media. So I'd like to talk about what is the risk of using those strong adult active ingredients on young skin, and what are the appropriate or safe alternatives for achieving that healthy glow, which is really what our kids want, but they're just probably using the wrong product?
Such a good question. So in our teens and younger, our skin barrier is not fully developed. And in our teens, especially, our skin is going through a lot of changes because of hormones. Our hormones are really significantly impacting that skin microbiome that I spoke about earlier. So in a sense, everything's kind of in turmoil in our skin during our teen years. So because of that, and because our skin barrier isn't as strong as it is when we are adults, so once we reach age, like I'd say 19 or 20, our skin barrier is really kind of at that adult matured stage, and it can handle a lot more. But when you throw ingredients like alpha hydroxy acids, the retinols, strong antioxidants like a vitamin C serum, those harsh exfoliants that have those physical abrasive ingredients, all it does is breaks down that skin barrier more, and that sets off a vicious cycle of inflammation, irritation, skin sensitivity, which works against everything that our acne-prone teenagers want, because it's just going to make that acne worse. It's going to make their skin blotchy and red. And what they want is that nice glow, but they think that they have to add all of these ingredients to achieve that. The truth is that the simple act, again, of just hydration of the skin with a really effective moisturizer that can draw water into the skin, help seal that skin barrier and prevent water loss is key. There are so many great sunscreens. For example, our Bright Girl tinted SPF 44 mineral sunscreen. It creates that beautiful glow to the skin. I'm wearing it right now. It has light reflective particles in it, but it's also giving you that protection from the UV rays. So finding those products that are going to render that glow to your skin, and you don't have to throw all those serums and harsher ingredients at it. In fact, that's just going to make things worse, and you'll be fighting an uphill battle.
Now let's talk about makeup, because when a daughter is ready to experiment with makeup, these moms, we got to be ready. So what's your advice on starting slow? And what are the essential non-toxic makeup products that you recommend that we begin with?
So I think, starting slow is the key. They have their whole lives to be adults, and they are so anxious to grow up, right? So I think when you can introduce products like a nice lip gloss, and there are many beautiful lip glosses that have SPF in them as well. That's an added bonus, but something that's going to be natural. And I think, again, going back to the clean beauty, you want products that kind of meet those criteria. So I love going into like a Sephora where you can actually select brands that meet the Sephora clean criteria. Same thing at Macy's, their conscious clean program. Blue Mercury has similar. So you can really go into retailers. Ulta has similar standards, and select those brands that are going to meet the criteria that are important to you personally as a parent. So I think introducing like a nice lip gloss, because it's also going to help keep their lips hydrated, may offer that sun protection. And same thing, like a nice mascara. I think that that's like a good starting point. There are so many good brands out there, though. I like mineral-based makeups because it's those tend to be a lot less irritating to the skin compared to the ones that have a lot of chemicals in them. And most makeups are going to contain what are called iron oxide pigments, which actually are very good about protecting against blue light, and then protecting against blue light, not just from computers and our phones, et cetera, but blue light that comes from the sun, which is the majority of blue light that we're exposed to, actually about 1,000 times more that we get from the sun than we do from sitting on Zoom calls or screens. But those iron oxide pigments, I think when you go back to those mineral makeups, it's going to be safe, pretty healthy for their skin. And then as parents, it's just kind of personal decision about what age that's appropriate. We obviously don't want our 8-year-old going out with a full face of glam makeup, right? But we want to respect when our 12 or 13-year-old is wanting to dabble in that and help guide them in the right direction.
Now, the most crucial step when using makeup is removal. So, what's the healthiest non-stripping way for a young person to remove makeup at night to ensure their pores stay clear and the skin barrier is protected?
Yeah, I love micellar water for removing makeup. I think it's a really good first step before you cleanse your skin. If you are an individual that wears a lot of makeup, so you got foundation and concealer, etc., I'm a big fan of doing a double cleanse. So using the product, micellar water is one option. I also love some of the makeup removing balms because it's more of an oil-based product, which is going to stick to the particles of makeup, which tend to be very oil-based. So those are going to stick together and be washed off. And then you can cleanse with like a gentle pH balance cleanser. In our household, we use the Bright Girl Bright and Clean cleanser. I know every ingredient in it. I know it's paraben, sulfate, phthalate free. I know it's going to be very refreshing to their skin, but our older daughters who are 14 and 17 will often do, they personally use micellar water. We have a Clinique product that's like a makeup remover balm that they love as well. But just doing those two steps to really ensure that nice, fresh palette, because when they go to bed and when they're sleeping, that's the rest and recovery phase for their skin. So if you have a lot of makeup still on your skin and particles, it's just kind of driving that irritation when your skin is just trying to recover from everything it's encountered during the day.
Would you say that there's a single biggest misconception or maybe skin myth about teen skin health that you hear most often in your dermatology practice? And what is the simple truth of that?
So I think the biggest misconception for teens is that what they are doing today doesn't really matter because like they're not thinking about 20 years from now. Or what their skin's going to be like. So they're really focused on the here and now and how their skin's performing in this moment. However, I treat skin cancer in my practice every day. It's 90% of what I do. And every day I have at least one patient that says to me, Dr. Casey, I've been so good about my sun protection for the last 5, 10, 20 years, whatever it is. Why am I getting these skin cancers? And the truth is that the skin cancer started in their childhood and teenage years. It started with those sunburns, the chronic sun exposure. Skin damage is cumulative and it starts at the ages that our kids are now. So it is so critical that we message that as parents. So we start them in those good habits because again, they, in their minds, they're kind of thinking, it doesn't really matter how I care for my skin. It doesn't matter if I get sunburned now, I'll deal with the skin damage later, or it's not going to affect me. But it is really critical to implement those good habits as soon as possible. Their generation has the opportunity to age so differently compared to ours because we're born with perfect skin. If you can prevent and preserve and support that perfect skin for as long as we can, there'll be leaps and bounds ahead of us.
Now let's talk about Bright Girl because this is your line that you made. Tell us about your product line. What's in it? Why is it special? Tell us more.
I started Bright Girl because of those reasons I just talked about seeing patients every day who had skin cancers that could have been prevented with proper habits. And then being the mom of 3 teen and tween daughters and looking at them and seeing them struggle to find a brand that really connected with them. So I brought home all the best brands. I had access to everything. As a dermatologist, I have reps bringing me free product all the time. Brought it home to them and they're like, no, this is like too bland. It doesn't smell good. The packaging is too white. It wasn't connecting with them. So they were gravitating towards brands like we talked about earlier that are way too mature, that had ingredients that were not appropriate for their skin, that I knew was actually going to cause more problems in their skin than would help. And after searching and searching for a brand that was really going to connect and resonate with them and not finding it, I created it myself with the help of a very talented team of cosmetic chemists and packaging experts. We ran clinical trials. I didn't run them. They were run independently and objectively to prove that safety and efficacy. And our products, of course, meet all those criteria, being paraben, sulfate, phthalate free of synthetic fragrances, et cetera. So moms don't have to worry. And I was getting that question all the time from moms. What skincare do I buy for my skincare obsessed daughter? And I'm proud to say now that Bright Girl is the brand chosen by thousands of dermatologists across the country for their patients and for their own children. So we're sold out of hundreds of derm practices across the country. We are also sold now in Macy's, at Space NK by Beauty Space, in Walmart, and in Nordstrom. So obviously, there's a reason that this brand has taken off. And I think it's because I benchmarked the products against the best dermatology brands that I tried over the years. Those serums and moisturizers that cost $90 or $200 per jar. And that's what I used as the standard as we were creating these formulations. And I made a comprehensive line: cleanser, moisturizer, toner, face mask, 2 options with sunscreens, a tinted sheer tinted sunscreen and a sheer, both mineral sunscreens, to really give our young people a brand that was made specifically for them and proven in their age group. So we as moms can feel good and they can really take ownership of it.
And I know you mentioned it before, but I'm going to have you repeat yourself and give us a website if you have it. Where can we get this? If we're listening and we're resonating, we're like, yes, the holidays are coming.
Yeah.
And, this is great gift, whether it's a holiday or birthday, we're trying to, get this product in our hands. Where can we go find it?
Very easy. Just brightgirl.com, and it's spelled just like it sounds, BRIGHTGIRL, all one word. You can also follow us at Bright Girl Beauty on Instagram or TikTok, and Bright Girl by Angela Casey MD on Facebook. But super simple. And yes, we will be running some good holiday specials. And what better gift to give to your young people than the gift of healthy skin, and really showing them that you hear them and that you're prioritizing their skin health.
And even better, audience, I hear that we have a special freebie that we're getting for our skincare line. If you're interested in purchasing, tell us more about that.
I'm so excited to offer your community 15% off. Just enter code IMPACTFUL at checkout. You'll get the 15% off. We'll also send the link to you, Kristina, so you can share it with your community. But again, as we get into the holidays or even into the new year, what better gift to get for your young people than the gift of healthy skin? And we're so thrilled to share that with your community.
I want to do one final takeaway with you. And that is, if a mother is listening to this interview and could only take one piece of advice today about her daughter's skin health and self-esteem, what would you tell her?
Remind her that she's in the driver's seat in terms of guiding her daughter on the right path. So every product that you choose that comes into your household or doesn't, it's just like going grocery shopping and we choose, do we want healthy food or junk food in the house? So every product that you purchase, because moms have the purchasing power, and then having that conversation with your young person about the importance of good habits. Skincare is just like brushing and flossing your teeth. And the sooner you start it and the more consistent you are about it, the better lifelong skin health you're going to have. So it's really a tremendous opportunity for us as parents to connect with our young people over a subject that's very interesting to them, probably more interesting than toothbrushing.
Thank you for listening today. Remember to subscribe and share this podcast with a friend. And don't forget, the Impactful Parenting Podcast is an extension of the Impactful Parent community. Go to the Impactful Parent website and download the free Impactful Parent app so you don't miss a parenting tip that can help you and your family. Thanks for listening today. So go to theimpactfulparent.com and see you next episode.